Okay, time is now 6:30. We are in session. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas will be held on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall 22870 Priest Road, Sandy Oaks, Texas, where a quorum of the City Council will be present. All agenda items are subject to action. You can join the meeting at the Zoom link found in the agenda. The public will be permitted to offer public comments in person, telephonically, or by audio as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting by signing up with the city secretary at least 15 minutes in advance of the meeting if providing comments in person, and at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting by emailing the city secretary or by calling 210-607-0834 if speaking telephonically or by audio. An audio recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act upon written request. I do have the audio recording here. Do you have the audio recording there? Okay, great. All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Madam Secretary, may I have a call to order, please?
Here. Alderwoman C.J. Walker.
Here.
Alderman Tremblay.
Here.
Alderman Thornder.
Here.
Alderman Racino.
Here.
City Secretary is present, and we have a quorum.
City Attorney is present as well. Okay. Citizens to be heard, persons wishing to speak may sign up with the city secretary in the time and manner as indicated above. At this time, we do have 2 people signed up to speak. The first on the list is Mr. Rodrigo Gonzaga. Mr. Gonzaga, you do have the floor. Time is now 6:32. You have 3 minutes.
I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to. I would like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak before all of you. And the way I got to know the city of Sandy Oaks was through friends, the mutual friends that lived here. I found it very very good town to live. And I'm a single dad. I have a 14 years old daughter and a 11-year-old son. I'm a diesel mechanic. I've been working on cars for quite a while. And I like the city. I was very fortunate to buy a lot on a 4703 Waterwood Pass Drive. It's a little under half acre with all utilities in there. And I run into a little bit of a situation. I was misinformed by my realtor. He said he went to the website and retrieved a piece of information regardless the age of the mobile home. I currently have using all my savings, the remaining of my savings. I bought a 1992 Palm Harbor in outstanding shape inside and out. And now I was just before I start moving a mobile home and get it ready to be moved, I found out through the making a call through the city hall. I spoke with Ms. Priscilla, and I was informed that I could not move my mobile home here. So now I was given a piece of information that's not accurate, not updated through my realtor, and I would like to have the opportunity to show pictures, the condition of the mobile home, and maybe with opportunity to put it in place. What else could I mention? And then, like I said, that I have all the utilities in the mobile home. I have pictures and documentation that's up to date. Everything is in good shape. So now I'm running to the situation that's I don't know what to do, honestly. And I'm in order to have my kids with me, I have to have a stable home or a fixed residency. And that's the way they will allow me to, my kids to come over and spend the weekend with me. Then I'm alternating with my ex-wife, so, and then I choose the city of Sandy Oaks to be, call home. And I would like to have that opportunity to be part of the community, be a good citizen here.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Rodrigo.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is for Mr. Terry Reagan. Mr. Reagan, you do have the floor. It is now 6:36.
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak to y'all. It's been an honor and pleasure to be able to work with y'all. It's brutal out there. The heat is crazy. So but we're making progress. We don't have any of the updated forms that we usually do. I apologize for that. Should have them next meeting. In fact, we probably will be, have the house hopefully mostly down by next meeting. So no promises, but it's a lot to do. And I also had a fence permit last meeting, and I lost the fence permit. I've been in touch with the fence guy, the longtime friend in the fence and tree and fence business, and his mother has surgery recently. And so he's needed to take care of her, but hopefully she'll be, well enough. They live here locally,
Okay,
so hopefully she'll be well enough, and we'll be able to get started on the fence next week. Anything else? Any other concerns or thing from y'all? I do want to add to also. Mr. John, I want to give credit. Amazing today. He really helped me a lot. Brought his trailer and helped me haul off a pretty good load of trash. And there'll be more to haul off as well. So, and I did meet with. Didn't bring copies of the forms. I apologize. I also met with the Bexar County Appraisal District because last year, when I did the protest, they left the house there. And so now the house is not an issue, meaning y'all don't want the house there. So I had to change that in the protest. I had to protest again because they still had the house there. So I'm in process of waiting for a hearing for that as well. So they can do the adjustment on that again, but I'm on top of it. And so if there's any other questions or concerns, I'm here to answer your questions.
Is your intent to put another house in?
That was my original intent. Yes. In fact, Mr. Guajardo actually recommended that I rebuild right there, use the frame and rebuild right there. And that was what I was going to do. He recommended that, but that's no longer an option. So, anyway, so I will let y'all go with that. Thank you.
all right, thank you, Mr. Reagan. Okay, moving right along. At this time, I do not have any updates or announcements, so we will skip that item. Moving on to the consent agenda, agenda item 5, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Your update was included in the.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yep.
There's no discussion, sir. I move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem and Alderman Fillinger to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, that passes unanimously. Moving right along. 6A, discuss under possible action on amending the personnel policy. Mayor Potem, you do have the floor if there are any updates.
Actually, I'd like to turn it over to Alderwoman Walker. She's the one currently doing some discussed edits on the document.
I'm still plowing through it. I'm making progress.
That's what
but
it is. It's certainly a plow for
it-
sure.
It's plotting through it and I'm doing it in a red line version. So we'll be able to show the council. Be aware most of it is gonna be red.
Lots of red, a sea of red. Any questions from the council related to this? All right, and we will progress forward. Thank you for the update. All right, discuss under possible action on additional streetlights in Sandy Oaks based on the map provided by CPS Energy. Priscilla, how is that progressing? Another sea of red.
So those are all new.
Wow.
Half the city done on pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. The yellow ones are gonna be my recommendation for actually, you know, those lights that they put right here on Waterwood Pass, and then they also, I think there was 6 of them. 4 on Waterwood Pass at the entrance and 4 on New Mathis on the entrance.
Mhm.
Those are those bright lights. I'm recommending one. That's what those yellow ones are. The black ones are the ones that I discussed the last meeting, that there's a light that my opinion shouldn't be there. It should just be moved to another pole. It would make more sense. And that's what these black ones are for. And the blue ones, I don't want to discuss that. The red ones are obviously the ones that I say that, my recommendation is those need lights.
Does this include the ones that the police department recommended last time as well?
I actually, yes, but the officer that I guess provided that didn't know, I guess didn't give correct address or something. Like for one example, Waterwood Pass and Night Watch. That's a intersection and there's actually a street light there. So that was the first one on the list and I went and actually checked that to see if the light was
All right, so they were considered when updating this chart.
right.
Thank you.
How far apart are the ones on straightaways? So many.
It looks worse than what it actually is. There's a lot of red. But when you're traveling these streets, it's just, there's gaps. There's a lot of gaps and you don't have a lot of room. These are big thumbtacks, so it looks worse than what it actually is.
Do you have an estimate on what the distance is? Because I know.
Roughly
Alderman
100.
Fillinger mentioned last time the CPS recommended distance.
Yes, it's like 100 feet.
CPS recommended 100 feet.
That's 100 feet from a street, 110 from one street light to the next street light. So there would be a telephone pole in between it. But there's,
For residential areas, ma'am, CPS had recommended every 1/10 mile. So roughly 500 feet,
Yeah.
okay.
100 feet, that's a lot of light.
because
Can give you an example,
And
like
these-
even on this yellow one, this is the curve on New Mathis, on Mathis Road. There is actually no street light there at all.
And curves can be an exception, but on straightaways.
Right. But there's a
every
good
100 feet,
distance.
That's
This,
just too much light.
these red pegs are not necessarily 100 to 110 feet apart from the next pole. From the next light, from one light to the next. That's not what all these are. There's gonna be different measurements. I'm not gonna have those measurements for council. To tell you that every single one of these are exactly 100 to 110 feet apart from the next light. That's not what these are. These are just lights I'm recommending on these streets because it's that dark down there.
So, all we have to do, right, is it tells you a scale. 1 inch is 850 feet. So let's just call it half an inch. We just reduce every half inch, we take off a light. It's very simple.
Yeah, the side of my property is 400 feet.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine having 4 lights.
Yeah.
Right, but
Right.
she's making a recommendation.
Right.
We as a council can
Right.
take a look at that and add and remove as we deem appropriate. She's
Exactly.
just making her recommendation based on what she
For
sees.
example, on Silver
Yeah.
Chalice, you know, in the cul-de-sac, you have a light that's
In the cul-de-sac.
facing off the side. My recommendation is that's what what these two black ones are for, is that move it from where it's at and actually put it in the center of the cul-de-sac. It only makes sense. Share the wealth.
One that's in the
The
cul-de-sac.
lighting by what is
In
on
the
that
center of the
board.
cul-de-sac and it shines out to the street.
Okay, well then if y'all are okay with the way the light shines in that, I just figured that it would make more sense for it to be on that pole. So if you continue to go down out of this cul-de-sac and you head out towards the other end of Silver Chalice, there's a curve. There's not even a street light nowhere except for that intersection.
The opposite end going toward.
And there's not another light until you get down to the other intersection. So this is what I'm just saying is that that's a windy road, and my recommendation is, even though that is not even 110 feet or 550 feet, as you're saying on there, my recommendation is that's a windy road. Why are we not just trying to
Yeah,
put it where the windy road is?
there would be
You
exceptions.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
there
that's
would
what
be
I'm,
exceptions.
And
This
we
is
we can
kinda
always
what I'm
go out
trying
and
to do.
double check if we disagree with
Yeah.
her recommendation, but we asked her to provide her recommendation, so that's what she's doing, and I don't think we
And
should
you should just
question her recommendation at this point
How
in
far
time.
you are and then-
right past my
Did,
house, the road takes a real sharp curve, and there is absolutely no lights from Carlsbad to Acres. There's not a single light going around that curve. My recommendation is put a couple of lights on that street as between Carlsbad and Acres. It's a dark strip right
Did-
there.
So
So,
we better not base what we do on where those pegs are right there. We need to do it by what's on the ground.
Yeah.
By what we see where the lights are actually needed in reality, not by what's on that board.
right.
Before we make a big mistake.
That's basically what you did. You drove these.
that's
stairs.
what I'm doing. I'm driving these and I'm trying to do these and, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and seeing where the dark areas are. And I can't, I just got with Michael and realized we need the street, the mailbox, and the pole number, so I had to go back and get that information. And that's basically what I'm trying to do, is find those areas where it's like, okay, it's dark right here. There's a curve there, or there's a light needed there. And that's what I was saying on Mathis. That those people on that corner, they have their own light. And my recommendation is one of those bright lights that we have up here in the front of the neighborhood. Same thing with leaving here and going around the fire station. Those telephone poles sit so far off the road, there's not one single light that goes around that curve. The meat market is providing the lights, and the fire department is.
Question, I recommended one last time. Is it already included on here on Dreamview?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
That's
All right.
that was another street that's pitch
Better
black.
put a peg in the ground where it's needed.
I think we just need to let her
Yeah.
complete her recommendation as we asked her to do, and not question what she's recommending, and then we can evaluate it as a council and pick which ones we want to try and implement on the first go round, and if we don't get it right, we can add more later, but we shouldn't be questioning her recommendation, otherwise it's not her recommendation.
Serious question.
I
And
agree.
the
No.
other thing is I would be concerned that there was lights at the bus stops change every year, but there are some
Mhm.
that are pretty much the same every year, like down on the other side of Skillet and New Memphis.
Yeah, the
That one's been
horseshoe
the
at
same
Skylit
for ages.
doesn't have any lights.
Yeah.
I think there was one down Skyline.
Right, and so all those people are sitting there at 6:20 in the morning in the
Mhm.
dark much of the year. And there's one light that points a different direction,
So
points out towards New Memphis.
these red pegs are not etched in stone. That's just like Monica said, Miss Mondero said, these are just recommendations.
Yeah.
Nobody said that that's where those lights are gonna go. So at the end, y'all can go across and look at that, pick a street. If y'all agree with the pegboard there, that's great. So that's all I'm doing, is just trying to light up the community, because it is pretty dark out there. So.
Well, I think it's a great recommendation, and I think you should just continue on forward and light up the map, and then, as we adjust, we adjust, so. I think that's fine. I think you're doing a good job.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Cool. All right, then moving right along. Discussing our possible action on ordinance 2025-252, providing regulations for the storage and parking of recreational vehicles within the city of Sandy Oaks. A second reading. Enter twice.
I would move that we approve ordinance number 2025-252, an ordinance of the city council of the city of San Diego, Texas, amending ordinance 2022-205, providing regulations for the storage and parking of recreational vehicles within the city of San Diego.
Second,
I have a question.
okay.
On section 3, when the recreational vehicle is allowed, it is not a violation of the ordinance if the recreational vehicle is parked
So
and
Let's get the motion and then we can discuss. All right, so I do have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Alderman Rapino. All to accept the ordinance or to approve ordinance number 2025-252. All those in favor say aye. Wait, no.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Now you can bring your point.
under section 3, when a recreational vehicle is allowed, it's not a violation of this ordinance if the recreational vehicle is parked and or stored on a lot, tract, or parcel of land upon which is located an inhabited dwelling unit, and the recreational vehicle is owned by the occupant of the inhabited dwelling. I would like to add in there, it must still be licensed. Because you're kind of stimulating there, okay, you can store it there, but it doesn't go as far as to say it still must be licensed, because I can store an RV on my lot and it's not registered.
wouldn't that
But-
be
but-
just under the abandoned vehicle?
But
It's not abandoned, it's being
Or
stored.
the,
You know.
if I may, a license is only good for public roads. So how can we license a vehicle? How can,
It's
Our court-
registered.
sure, and as soon as it steps on the public road, give it a ticket, but it's on private property.
But we use the same, in the same ordinance, we use the same wording under junk vehicles, must be registered.
Which is
insured,
something
same
we're gonna
thing.
discuss.
So it should apply also to recreational.
but that's why
vehicles.
that ordinance is up for discussion, because of the concern. It's not illegal to have a vehicle not registered on personal property.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is,
So-
if you read it thoroughly, it is, it must be licensed.
Does it,
It's a violation of our ordinance.
only if it's defined as a
No,
junk,
violation of the ordinance.
It's, it's a traffic law, and you can't enforce traffic law on private property.
So then, within this ordinance, you're saying I can store an RV on my lot and then it doesn't have to be
As
registered.
long as it doesn't, and I could be completely wrong, as long as it doesn't go into the public road, right, meaning you tow it out of here, then it's not a violation, it's not a traffic law violation.
We can require it to be operational. So it's
Well,
not
but
like
what is
it's there
operational?
rotting, I mean, but to require vehicle on private property. I would defer to talk about Texas.
Well, Texas state law and the mayor's right, but you mind, that's why we have the city ordinance, that they can make it more strict, but they can't make it more lax. But I cannot issue a citation to a unregistered motor vehicle, RV, that's on private property, right? You can drive, or people have ratchets with trucks that aren't registered that they just use, or tractors or whatever that they use on their private property. Once it hits public roadway, then you have to have it registered. It has to meet all the state requirements under the traffic code in order to operate on a public roadway. So he's right in that sense, right? For a vehicle, for an RV, it's the same way. If I can't cite them for state law because their vehicle is unregistered on their private property, but yet we're doing it on a city ordinance violation when state law says they can have it. I mean, that's y'all's call. You can make it more strict, you just can't make it more lenient. But, he's right. There's nothing to enforce under state law if the vehicle RV is unregistered and on private property. The same goes with what do you say, dismantled vehicle? Or
Just an abandoned vehicle.
an abandoned vehicle, if it's on private property, it's private property. There's nothing state law that says I can enforce something on private property.
So I think one of the things, though, to your point, though, is that or I think your point is that if we kind of skip around, right, and we look at the other ordinance that will be discussed later, one of my arguments is that it's got to be operational, right? Meaning it's in a car, it's got to be drivable. You got to be able to turn it on. It's got to be able to move on its own power. It's got to have air in the tires. So I think along those lines, right, we could be more stringent and say the RV must, have the ability to be self-contained and be able to be moved efficiently, right? So meaning if it becomes.
Livable.
Yeah, yeah,
Because,
that's,
I mean,
If it's not junk,
yeah,
Right, and that's
Right.
what I'm trying to get is that people are gonna, someone's gonna park an RV.
Yeah.
And then it's not licensed. It's,
I know.
but it sits there and now it's getting,
Yeah, it's degrading.
now it qualifies as a junk vehicle.
right,
Maybe
being
for your in-laws
licensed
that come and
doesn't
visit once a
necessarily
year.
mean it's not
I
junk.
mean,
yeah.
And now we're limiting it to only.
I have a
in-laws
travel
can
trailer,
come for
it hasn't
2 weeks.
moved in over a year, but I keep, it's current on the tag. So-
Right.
But being licensed doesn't mean it's not. You can have a junk licensed vehicle.
That's true.
That's true too.
Yeah, so license
Especially since we
means
don't need
nothing.
inspections anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, and that's in one of the.
So what is it that you're trying to prevent? Junk vehicles or making sure every vehicle in town?
Oh, no,
is
I'm
registered?
Junk RVs, travel trailers.
Right.
But being
If you don't have,
licensed
no,
doesn't
we can
mean
move
it's.
on, it's fine, we can deal with it.
Well, but it's a fair point though, Doug, or Alderman Tremblay. I just don't know what's the way around it.
There is
But an
some-
RV is a vehicle and I think it'll be addressed as we talk about the next ordinance. Is it not considered a vehicle under that ordinance? too?
If it's drivable, if it's not, if it's just a travel trailer that you hook a bumper pull, I mean, it's really not considered a motor vehicle.
But then it could be considered. Yeah.
That's problem.
Okay, we can move on.
Okay. So I do have a motion by our Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Alderman Rapino to approve ordinance number 2025-252 for a second reading, providing regulations for the storage and parking of recreational vehicles within the city of Sandy Oaks. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All right. Moving right along to agenda item 7A, discuss and or possible action on ordinance number 2020-170. An ordinance declaring, establishing regulations for public health nuisance and providing for abatement. So I did send out an email and related to this ordinance. And my thoughts are again, right, that I believe we're just a little too stringent in asking for one, a state inspection on a vehicle on private property. And two,
That's
Yeah,
actually no longer.
and it's no
required.
longer, right, it's no longer required, and a valid registration. When in surrounding cities, code enforcement officers, when they enter your private property, they will only ask you to turn the vehicle on, move it forward and backward. And so long as it does meet those conditions, it's not considered junk. So I'd like to incorporate that somehow into this ordinance. So that way we're not as stringent, again, right? I understand the concern. We certainly don't want to devalue properties. We certainly want to make sure that people are not bringing home vehicles and dismantling them. But if the vehicle is movable, meaning that you can take it and move it from your driveway to over here, it's not a junk vehicle. It's not dismantled. It's not in a dire state of repair. It's
I personally would be happy with it has air in 4 tires.
and that is another one of the conditions that to be met.
And again, you know, I don't want junkers hanging around,
Of course.
but I see a gentleman on Waterwood Bank with several tractors in his yard.
Mhm.
And being a Fordham country boy, I enjoy this. And he is rebuilding old tractors. We don't have an ordinance that says he can't have his tractor,
Can't be dismantled.
okay? But if he's
Rebuilding them.
rebuilding a tractor, is it dismantled?
I thought there was something in here about rebuilding antique.
And some
There is something
people-
about antiques in here. for
Some
sure.
people, fix their cars.
And again, you know, if it's got 4 tires that are up, the guy, without going into a forensic inspection, is he rebuilding an engine? Is he rebuilding a transmission? Does he have the battery in another vehicle for some? But, you know. with registration stickers going away.
You mean
Inspections.
The inspection stickers going away. Other than, you know, what would cause an officer to stop and say, this is junk? Well, if it's in lying pieces in the front yard, it's probably junk.
And to that point, Charlie, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to agree with you. It does state here under section 2 definitions, H, junk vehicles, wrecked, dismantled, or partially dismantled or discarded. So, you know, if it's in 9 pieces, it's considered junk.
But there's if you look at section 5, paragraph C, the inapplicability statement, I think the tractors that you're referring to would be covered under this statement. We're talking about special interest vehicles stored by a motor vehicle collector on the collector's property. It can be an antique vehicle, it can be, so there's some exceptions in there. And it's not visible from the street, then it doesn't matter. So I think that.
I think that's part of it, visible from the street.
Right,
It's-
but.
It's something that needs to be.
But it's an antique or special interest vehicle, those tractors that he's rebuilding. So I think that covers his concern.
What is special interest? Is it special interest if someone's car is broken down and they're trying to repair it?
Special
That-
interest would be a unique vehicle that's rare, that's uncommon.
Well, so that wouldn't cover
It's not
somebody
defined
that's
anywhere.
trying to
It would-
repair their car.
It wouldn't cover a 1993 Toyota Camry, right? But
It's
it'll,
defined.
it'll,
Special
What
interest
I'm
vehicle
getting
means a
at
motor
is-
vehicle of any age that has not been changed from original manufacturer specification and because of its historical interest is being preserved by a hobbyist.
Okay, so what I'm getting at, it penalizes somebody that's trying to fix their car. Somebody that has mechanical ability that is out there trying to fix their car rather than paying $2,000 to go to a mechanic to do it. Somebody that has that ability, not someone that leaves the stuff for months laying around, which I would consider a junk vehicle. And we all know them, we see them around, they're all rusted, they're laying all over the place, the doors are all over
open.
but it leaves open somebody coming along and saying that's a junk vehicle when somebody is actually trying to fix their vehicle.
I tend to agree, and I'm sorry, and you can have your time, CJ. I tend to agree, but I disagree only because if you're going to repair your vehicle and you've stopped because of lack of funding or interest or whatever, I don't think, and this is not a shot at our police department, I don't think they're gonna see it in that length of time, right? Because 1, we're limited in staff, and 2, there's only so many hours in a day. So if they're working on their car and they've stopped, I'd say they probably have a couple of weeks before somebody
Yeah, I
really
agree
complains.
with that, but I agree.
But something
it
that's-
wouldn't be indefinite that where
Right.
they would leave, that would then become a junk vehicle.
Right, CJ?
In the definition though, it talks about for 30 consecutive days.
Okay, I'll go
That's
along
fair.
with that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, you know, my issue is we have underneath, it doesn't have attached to it, lawfully attached to it, an unexpired license plate or a valid motor vehicle inspection certificate.
Oh, good.
I have a vehicle sitting on my property right now that we're still fighting to get a bill of sale for, so we can get those things. It hasn't left the property, it's still operational. It gets moved from one parking spot to another.
Right, so
But-
by definition, our ordinance would cite you, right?
Right.
And what I'm trying to do is, in that case, right, that it is operable, at least the tires have air,
Right,
it can move.
that was my point. I'm
Right.
sure we're not the only ones that run into
And it's
situations
up
like
to the
that.
police to make that determination. They can.
Yeah.
They have the leniency, they can
Yeah,
give you extra time being that that's their case.
Or
And
somebody
that goes
that's
to not
working
just
on,
you, that goes for
For
anybody in the
everybody.
city has the authority
Correct.
to utilize leniency.
and
but yeah.
likewise with somebody
But
who's working on
she's
their
still-
vehicle that goes over the 30 days.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
She's
it's, he
still-
has that
yeah,
authority.
she's still wrong.
Charles, did you have something?
Nope.
Oh, okay, I thought
But
you.
I would say we could remove 1 and 2 under section 8.
I'm gonna stick to four tires that have air in it. And beyond that, I speak not.
I'll go along
I'm
with you,
done
Charles.
till- I'm done until we,
No, I think we'll stick to the 30 days and I just say it's got air in the tires. Cause I've seen some out here that's sitting out in the front yards. They got air in the tires. Windows are all busted out of them. May not even have a trunk lid on it.
So I would agree to remove, in my opinion, I would agree to remove the first two, right? I think those we can, and I think we can leave the 30 days on, but I do also think we need to add the stipulation that it must be operable, right? In that it can move on its own power,
Yeah, well,
30 days.
because it says is otherwise inoperable,
but that's not defined,
right?
so we need to define that if we're going to.
Or
Unless
just-
it's defined in the Texas code, because there is a reference to the Texas Transportation Code, section 683.071, and I think this needs to be updated to make sure that it accurately reflects that, because I'm sure number 2 has been removed from section 683.07.
So what do we want to do?
Number 2 is not in the Texas code. That was
Junk vehicle means a vehicle as defined by,
that was added by council.
oh, okay, so these number 1 through 4 isn't from the Texas code.
Well, I think 3 is.
Okay,
3 is.
so I think we need a definition of inoperable.
And the inoperable, so 3 and 4 are in the Texas.
Okay, so is that defined in the Texas code? So then we would be removing 1 and 2, which would make it equivalent to the Texas code, and then adding the requirement. Or
The definition of inoperable.
unless it's in the Texas
I don't
code.
see it defined in this chapter. It could be somewhere else in the transportation code, but not in this chapter.
Yeah, because I would think we should define that if they did not. Since we're referencing the code, we wouldn't need to include it because that would indicate where the citizen can go to get the definition.
So a neighboring city is even more stringent in that code enforcement investigates for vehicles that are inoperable and or wrecked or dismantled for more than 10 days on a private property. The vehicle is considered operable if all tires have air and the engine starts. And that's a neighboring city.
We could add that definition of operable too. Of air in the tire
And
and
engine
starts.
starts.
Unless, do we actually want it to move as well, or just
Starts.
starts? So I would move to add the definition of operable to section 2 as just read by the mayor from a neighboring city's ordinance.
Okay, so let's see.
Where you adding
To section 2, the definitions, what it means to be operable,
to,
Just to the definitions.
to the section
Like,
2 definition.
So add it to, make it a S.
Well, no,
Or
they're
you wanna-
done in alphabetical order, so we would need to plug it in
Okay,
as K and then renumber everything else. So insert it and re-letter because it's alphabetical.
Okay.
Much easier to find the words or anything for it.
so let's see here. So I have a motion by,
repeat that, please.
I move to add the definition of operable from the nearby cities ordinance, which means it has air in the tire and will start, to section 2 in the appropriate alphabetical order, and then re-letter as necessary to fit it in.
I would second that.
okay, so I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Alderman Fillinger to add the definition of operable as per the neighboring city, that there are air in the tires and the engine starts in section 2 in alphabetical order, therefore realigning every other definition that's within section 2. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Okay. That motion
Sure,
carries.
I would also move that we delete from section 2 definition H, number 1 and 2. Number 2 being because inspection certificates are no longer required. And number 1, because it doesn't have to have
A license plate.
a license plate on private property.
Okay. Do I have a second?
No, second. Oh, you can do it.
All right, we'll give it to CJ. So I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderwoman CJ to strike from section 2H, subsection 1 and 2, an unexpired license plate and a valid motor vehicle inspection certificate from the definitions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. All right, so then if there's no more discussion on vehicles, I do have, oh yeah. I mean, and it may be with the same one. So one thing that I do also wanted to talk about in this ordinance is brush. And what I wanted to talk about was how much time do we need to afford our citizens to put brush out on the curb and not worry about being cited for dumping in the right of way,
You mean for collection?
for brush collection.
For
Yes.
brush collection?
Yeah, so an example, June 24th, I believe, is a brush collection day and, 23rd. And so how much time is too much time or not enough time?
7 days, I think it's what San Antonio.
Seven
If I
days?
remember right, I think 7 days.
7 days before.
Meaning,
7 days
so brush
after
collection is
it
coming
needs
on
to
the
be
24th, right,
Yeah.
of next month. So should we give them the month, the beginning of the month, right, June 1st? From the, 3 weeks prior to their, I'm just throwing it out, 3 weeks prior to their brush collection, because not everybody is, and the gentleman that came in and talked to me about it, he's not the young buck, right? And so it's gonna take him some time to move stuff from his yard to the front for brush collection.
But I would say 10 days because they always say brush collection starts on Monday.
Mhm.
So if we do 10 days, that would include 2 weekends. So those folks that might not necessarily have every weekend off or might take them a little bit longer to get it done, that gives them 2 weekends,
So 10 calendar days
10 calendar days
from the day of their brush collection.
prior to the date of brush collection.
But
Ready?
what about 10 days after
They
for
make one
those
pass.
folks that do not get all of their brush picked up?
The problem with that is they make one pass. And they put that out, one pass
Right.
on the street.
If they don't get all their brush picked up, it's because they put too much out.
They
Right,
put too
right.
much out.
Or
Do
So then
they
they
have,
have,
do they have 10 days or whatever
Oh, no.
to get it
No.
from there, put
They
back?
shouldn't have put too much out. They're wrong then. It's very clear guidelines on what should be
And I
put out.
think that's the purpose, why they make one
To
pass,
do it back.
so that they're not coming back and forth at the same address.
There have been exceptions. They have missed a few cul-de-sacs during pickup and they've been called back to take care of that.
Right.
But by and large, the statement that they put too much out or they put non-allowed items out. Because I've responded to probably 100 calls.
Mhm.
They didn't pick up. And well, you've got a 5-foot long stump that's 36 inches in diameter. No, they're not gonna pick that up.
How can I pick that up?
Right.
Okay.
what about, because I agree that they messed up and they need to pull it back. What about giving them till the end of that week's brush collection, right? So let's call it, it's a Wednesday, my brush collection day.
And you'll have to coordinate that with the waste management, because they're only gonna make one pass. So
Right.
If you give them a week after the 24th.
No,
So
no, no,
wait.
no.
No, if it's coming on the 23rd, which is what Ms. Schmidt just
Okay.
said. They should be allowed to leave their stuff out all week because we don't know that they're coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right.
By the end of that week, by that following weekend, brush collection is
It's
over
over.
and their
No more.
stuff should be done. So we're not giving them extra time. We're giving them for the duration of that week where they're doing brush pickup.
Right.
Because there's no definitive date when they're coming to each area during that week.
But-
It is a 1 week period where they can have it out there for the brush collection.
Sorry, if they put it out there
Following
on the
week on
20th,
Monday, it needs to be clear.
I would say the Sunday after their brush collection day. Because that gives them the week.
Monday morning. Officer comes on duty,
Okay, that's fine.
he has the choice of.
And where's the at in this ordinance, this thing that we're talking about? Because I don't see where they're actually.
Well, no,
section that talks about.
There's not a section in there.
It's not in there, that's
Right.
why I missed it, okay.
Yeah, because one of our citizens got cited and said, well. Granted, he was 2 months ahead of schedule, but he said, I'm putting it out there in the hopes of that they collect it. And while that's a great idea, 2 months is not reasonable time. So I think we do need to give them some reasonable time, but I think we need to define what is reasonable.
And yeah, it's never been defined, so.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're having a brush pickup in June, so I'm gonna start putting my stuff out in February, so I'll make sure that I don't miss it.
Right.
And
Alright.
we literally have that going on.
I would move to add to section 3, a paragraph C. Give everybody a minute to find what I'm talking about. This is where we're talking about accumulation of garbage, trash, leaves, brush, refuse, rubbish, waste, junk, litter, and other materials.
Mhm.
Add a paragraph C, which states inapplicability. Yard waste or bulk trash may be put on the curb 10 days prior to scheduled pickup and must be removed no later than 7 days after the scheduled pickup day.
I would insert items not picked up, but.
It needs to be removed, period, whether they pick it up or not.
But. Okay,
Everything must be removed, whether it's picked up or not. Everything must be gone from the curb within 7 days of, no later than 7 days after the scheduled pickup date.
So I have a motion by our Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
The second by Alderman Fillinger to add a section C, paragraph C to section 3 that explains inapplicability. Yard waste or trash can be placed. If I'm messing this up, let me know. Can be placed on the curb 10 days prior to scheduled pickup. And everything must be removed within 7 days after the scheduled pickup. That in a nutshell,
I said no later than. I don't know which is more
what is more
legally
technical?
technically correct. I would defer to the attorney.
No later than.
Okay. So no later than 7 days.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And should it, instead of prior, should I say no earlier than 10 days prior?
Yes. That sounds good.
No earlier than 10 days.
No earlier than 10 days prior to scheduled pickup and no later than 7 days after.
All right. All right, so I'll read it again. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderman Fillinger to add a paragraph C to section 3, inapplicability, yard waste or trash may be placed at the curb no earlier than 10 days prior to scheduled pickup, and everything must be removed no later than 7 days after the scheduled pickup. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously.
I have a-
Sure.
I would move to section 5, paragraph D1, second line. Replace the word city marshal with police department And similarly, if
Can
city
we-
marshal is used
Everywhere.
anywhere else in the document.
Police department, did you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by
Me.
Alderman Rufino to strike city marshal in specifically section 5D
And any other.
and insert police department as well as any other section in this document that states city marshal. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? That motion carries.
Sure.
Yes.
I would move to accept the ordinance with the number to be determined as. Did you have something else?
Yes, I do. I would move that we authorize the city attorney to make the changes and bring it back to council for a final vote or whatever.
I'll second.
But with that, I just have one suggestion, back to definitions H, to remove, and does not have lawfully attached right before 1 and 2, that was correct.
Yeah,
That's why
Make sure
you're
that
an
would be-
attorney.
I want to make sure that would be okay. You should also strike that, or to remove that.
okay. Somebody want to make the motion?
I move that we authorize the city attorney to strike,
Does not have lawfully attached
does
to.
not have, and does not have lawfully attached to it. In section 2 definitions under H junk vehicles.
I'll second then.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to authorize the city attorney to strike and does not have lawfully attached to it from section 2 definitions of H junk vehicles. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
And I reiterate my motion to authorize the attorney to prepare the amendment and return it for further amendments for adoption.
But
I'll second.
before we move forward with that, I would recommend that we vote that this be accepted with the edits we have, so that when she brings it back, that's our second reading, and we can then make it official. Because we have to do the 2 readings, so if we accept it as edited and authorize her to make those changes, I would ask that you modify your motion to include.
I would like to withdraw my motion.
okay,
Sir, I would move to accept the ordinance as discussed with the amendments and authorize the city attorney to go make those amendments and provide it to the city to post under the second reading ordinance, so we can bring it back at a future meeting as a second reading.
gotcha. Anybody like to second that?
Okay, I'll second it.
That tongue twister? Right, and Alderman, okay, so I got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderman Rapino to accept the amendments as presented into ordinance number 2021-70 and to allow our city attorney to make those amendments to then provide the fresh document in our next regularly scheduled meeting.
It won't necessarily, it depends on how long it takes, because it has to be posted for 2 weeks. So,
Hmm,
but the
well, we
next,
have 3 weeks, so,
okay,
for the next one, so I think that's fine.
yeah,
that fine?
whenever it's enough time
Okay.
for the second reading, when appropriate. to-
Okay, so then we'll. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All right, we got one, and all those opposed? So is it a nay or not?
it's a nay. I don't think we can publish it without the heading to the new ordinance.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. On second.
All right,
We can't publish it. It's not going to be published. It'll be posted as the draft ordinance under the second reading. It won't be enforceable until the second reading.
Right.
So if we don't do it this way, then we have to bring it back 2 more times before it can be
Right.
actually enforced, and it won't be enforceable until at the earliest, the end of June.
okay. All right, well, the motion still carries at 4-1 with Alderman Fillinger voting no. All right. We will move right along. Okay. All right, moving right along, executive session to deliberate a change in compensation for Patrol Officer Palomares and related matters pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters. Time is now,
Are we gonna talk?
yeah,
about
we're
the
gonna
other
talk
executive
about,
session too?
no. No, we're not. So the second agenda, the 7C executive section will not be discussed at this time. The time is now, what is that, 7:26. We are in executive session.
Put it on.
Okay, time is now 7:34. We are in session. We will then move to agenda item 7D. Discuss and or possible action on a change in compensation for Patrol Officer Palomares.
Sir, I move to approve a pay raise for Patrol Officer Palomares to $50,000 per year.
Oh,
Mhm.
Fifty, what it falls into.
Yeah, we did that. Effective on the next pay period.
I'll say,
Okay, so I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderman Rapino to increase the pay for Patrol Officer Palomares to $50,000 annually. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. That effective next pay period, excuse me. That motion carries. And we will not be discussing agenda item E. All right. I need somebody to do it.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we got a motion to adjourn. It's now 7:36. We are adjourned.
Sorry, Charles.
Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, Charles.
No, I